Good morning, everyone, and happy day 49 out of 75 days. As you can see, I'm driving. I'm no longer a passenger princess or a queen. What is it? Or passenger queen? Anyways, there's a whole joke behind that because as you guys were reading, or not reading, but listening to my video this morning on Monday, I was sharing that we were traveling back from Phoenix. And if you've ever been to Arizona, the UV's really, really bright. It's really bright. So we were driving back in the middle of the day. I was sitting on the passenger side, and there's a term called passenger princess. But of course, my husband had never heard of this. So he was like, what? And he thought it was funny. But I had my laptop on my lap, and because the sun was coming in on the passenger window and I needed my sunglasses on, it was a whole thing. I basically was like, look, when we stop for gas, I need to sit in the back seat because it's really hard to see the screen, and I can't look at the screen without my sunglasses because the sun is so bright. And my eyes, they have become sensitive to the sun because I had eye surgery 3 years ago on both of my eyes, and like less than 6 months apart. I have an eye condition called keratoconus, and Lord forgive me if I didn't say it right, but anyways, it's a hereditary eye condition that it's like in your late adolescent years, and basically your cornea begins to take shape like a cone. So it was like I had perfect vision, and then all of a sudden I noticed in my late teens, I remember getting a pair of glasses, but it wasn't like I had to wear them permanently. Anyway, by the time I was 21, I was diagnosed with this, and I went and got 2 opinions, as a matter of fact, because I was, this can't be true. And the catch was, the first doctor said you will need cornea replacements by 40. So thankfully, they had this surgery called cross-linking, which was created for all the people that had LASIK surgery and the surgery didn't go well. Well, they had figured out that cross-linking helps people like myself with this eye condition. And so the idea is that it stops the progression of the condition and allows you to maintain the prescription that you have. And so it was very necessary that I did the eye surgeries. And I'm not going to say, oh, I can't stand the sun without sunglasses or brightness, but my eyes are just a little bit more sensitive than what they were pre-surgery. And even at nighttime, it can be really challenging, like to walk around when it's pitch black dark. So I tend to wear sunglasses, and I'm very aware of where I'm driving at nighttime, which thankfully I'm a creature of habit and I'm never really driving anywhere at night. But besides driving from campus, but that's a route that I know like the back of my hand, and I know alternate routes if I need to take them. So anyways, I became a passenger queen, which meant at the back of the car behind the driver's seat could drive us home essentially. And that's how I was able to get so much work done. But like I said, I was able to do a lot of rereading chapter 2. So what I did going up is I read some of the applied doctoral project samples that were shared with me, and really just reading for understanding, because again, I think I've expressed that I'm the type of person that sometimes I really have embodied what it is to understand the concept. So I have to read it, sometimes I have to write it down so it commits to memory and understanding. And so I did all of that, made my notes, did my reflection about it, and basically I need to write the summary for chapter 2. Now, the funny thing is, I just watched Dee's video over LaShuri, and she was talking about the importance of outlines, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this applies to writing in general. And the funny thing about working on your doctorate, whether it's a dissertation or an applied doctoral project like myself, is you can get really lost in your writing. And so the best benefit of the 75-day challenge is that I have to interface with my writing every day. And what I have found is I don't get so lost. I do have an outline. And she reminded me, like, oh, I should look at that outline more often. But I do use a notebook. And so I keep track of everything in my notebook. My thoughts, my chair meeting notes, anything that any references, everything is in the notebook. So everything is together. And that's really helpful in keeping me organized. And I also have a task list that I follow. So I had already written down the recommended revisions that my chair had for me, which, praise be to God, I only had 4. So that's progress. Like the 25 revision at minimum I had for many, many weeks. But it is hard to write a summary. Now, chapter 2 on average is about 30 to 50 pages. So trying to write a summary on material that I may have written 2 months ago, I have to go back at this stuff and kind of embody my work and look at it from a critical eye, the same way I was looking at these other doctoral students and their. So I have read half of chapter 2, made some notes, but also like doing the critical. And I do this with my students too. I'm finding this weird love for revisions and editing. I think it has something to do with me doing YouTube, honestly. I really think it does. And I'm not going to say it's just YouTube, but doing this paper too, you have to look at your stuff from a different lens. But it just got to the point where I'm like, well, I can't really write this chapter 2 summary without rereading chapter 2 and then coming across these edits and things that I need to do. I started making notes on the live document, and they're not major changes, but it's just like, oh, that sentence doesn't sound very good. I need to reword this sentence, or I need to cite this source a little bit better, because there's a couple. I had a system in place and I'm kicking myself. I'm really gonna be kicking myself, let me be honest with you. I'm kicking myself because the way that I typically handle references is I pull my references, have a reference page where I kept everything in alphabetical order, and then I also use like a separate document, draft my references and things that I want to cite in my paragraph. I keep that separate from the live document. Well, after I complete a paragraph or a section, I always move those references over the real like document. Well, I didn't for the like 6 weeks, and to be fair, a lot of it I kind of felt like I was being pushed and pressured to just revise, format. And so it just kind of threw me off, but I knew that in the back of my mind, and I've got to track my articles. I have to do all this stuff. So I'm not too worried, because I still have the system in place. I just wasn't moving it over to my final page. So wise enough to have like a separate Google, so it's not going to be hard to find my Google documents that I was using, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm at with my chapter 2 summary. So what's the game plan for today? Well, I'm going to CrossFit, and I will finish reading chapter revisions and note my version, so then I will be able to write the summary. And because I don't have any appointments or anything in the morning, depending on how I'm feeling tonight, I might be able to read and do the writing. Because sometimes you get to a point, and some of y'all might be able to relate to this, where you're just like, I need to just write this. Because you get in such a good flow, and if I'm in a really good flow, I'm just going to go hard or go home and get it done. So that way tomorrow I will be tackling a new beast called chapter 3, which again, from reading the samples that were shared with me, I feel like I was part of overwhelming myself with chapter 3 because of my conversations with my chair, which wasn't really helping anything. So anyways, I'm not as overwhelmed. Thankfully, I understand triangulation now. Oh, Jesus, thank God. And being able to see her work as a chair with another student, which she stated to me, she's like, all of my students use triangulation. And that's what we do. And I'm like, well, that's just great. Oh, I will be using the triangulation method, Prisma, Excel spreadsheet, and an expert. Y'all pray for me that I find an expert in criminology that can read what I'm writing and provide feedback. Somebody who's actively working in the field. That would be the goal. But anyways, I've got an appointment to go to because y'all know, as a hybrid worker, I gotta find my ways to get out of my house. So I'm just kidding. I actually have a doctor's appointment and it's just a follow-up with my blood work. So I will probably hop back on afterwards as I'm driving to my next destination. I do go to the chiropractor today too. So anyways, I'll catch up with you guys shortly. Later. Okay, everyone, I'm back from my appointment. So I am actually en route to, I'm going to the chiropractor, but I'm kind of going very, very early. Very early. The appointment is not for another 20 minutes. But I'm hoping if I get there early, they'll go ahead and see me because I am making I'm making some major purchases today. For my A, travel life, B, my entrepreneur life. I believe I hinted about this on day 47, day 48. The life of a content creator, but not just a content creator. I have to be clear. So you guys know that I travel quite a bit. You're learning that I travel quite a bit. I mean, in the last week or the last month, I've been to Anaheim and Texas, and we tend to travel to Phoenix. Not every month. I'm not even going to say every month, but it depends. It might be every other month or like twice in a semester, in an academic semester. So I am used to living out of a suitcase, and having my backpack ready and all of that. So this summer, I've also mentioned to you all, and if you go back through my YouTube shorts, because I was good about posting YouTube shorts of my travels. You can always go check those out if you've never seen them before. But they should be there. And I've thought about going back and looking at all of the stuff that I've recorded and took pictures of. And even though it's not present day, like I didn't take these trips in the last month, but just making some content around them. I'm not quite sure. I'm still thinking. But when you are traveling and you have to work, because I also travel for work and for fun, but I still need to be able to use my laptop. So one big, huge investment that I made was, not like a huge investment, I ended up getting a jetpack because as an entrepreneur, I needed to be able to have Wi-Fi wherever I'm going. So that was one big thing, and I had jetpacks years and years and years and years and years ago. But I introduced that back into my life about 2 years ago. Secondly, I just told you guys that I had eye surgery. And so prior to the eye surgery, which I need to mention this to the better half, because he's like, I feel like you can't decide what size screen that you want. And I'm like, you know what? We purchased my current laptop back in 2019. And it's like a 17.5-inch laptop. It's a big kahuna. And let me tell you, no bags fit that laptop. None. The only way that I could get a backpack was I had to go with a Swiss Gear that was large enough to carry this laptop. But now that I've had the eye surgery, my laptop for work that I have is not a 17.5-inch, it's like a 15-inch. So I am used to working from a smaller screen, typically when I'm at work. But I wasn't really planning to like try to travel with this big 17.5-inch laptop. We had actually got a smaller one, but it was like a gamer laptop, and I was like, this is not it. This is not it. It was an HP, and I'm an HP person. I am loyal to the brand, okay? And so thankfully my husband's from a very large family, and we had a great nephew that was graduating high school and going off to college this past year on scholarship, football, and academic. Super proud of him. And I literally had used his laptop maybe 5 times. So we gifted the laptop to him for graduation because he also enjoys gaming and all of that, and it had all the works and everything that he needed in order to be a successful college student, and it was a gaming laptop. So I said, you know what, I need to go on the hunt a little bit better about finding a laptop that's going to work better for me. And so last year I almost went with the HP Envy, a 2-in-1, where you can turn the screen and still have the keys. I almost did, but I was like, man, I don't really like, I didn't want to spend like $900 for this thing. That was the issue. That's how I ended up with a gaming laptop. This is the thing. When you know what you want, okay, even if it's going to cost more, sometimes, and I have to say this to my husband, but sometimes you're better off buying the actual thing that you want than to settle for something different, because it may not work effectively. And the gaming laptop just was not it. It just was not it. It just, the feel of it just was not it. So, and it was very different from all the other laptops I had. But because I purchased it based off of price, because my price point, I was like, I don't want to spend like $800-900 on a laptop. And I think the Envies were more than that anyway. I didn't want to spend like $1,200. It was like between $900 and $1,200 or something. So I went with the gaming one, which was like $650 or something. Instant regret, okay? Instant regret. So since then, and after traveling, because obviously when you let go of a device, that means you got to use what you got. So I used what I had, and I'm pretty sure carrying like 25 pounds on my back was also a huge contributing factor to the sciatica issues. I'm almost confident. Nobody has to tell me this. So I am going to be getting an HP Envy 2-in-1, but guess what? It's on sale coming up for Black Friday. And so there was that piece. And here's the other caveat. So whenever I've traveled for work, and even for work, I do YouTube, but everything is unlisted and I share it with the students. That's the whole point. I don't need my lectures out there. Plus, I don't think people want to hear my voice talking about all this stuff. But I've been using YouTube for work for 4 years now, 3 or 4 years, something like that. And I don't really do a lot of editing. I just literally download the link and save the lectures, whatever else. But whenever I travel, my colleague, she always has her iPad. And I'm like, man, she never has to worry about a notebook. Like, I'm kind of low-key jealous, not gonna lie. But I'm not an iPad person. That's the problem. I don't know nothing about iPads other than the one that I bought in 2013. And it's so old that they will not even take it back to reimburse me for it. That's how old it is. That's what they told me. Even though it's in great condition, but it's sad because it's a device that can't be used. So, as I was saying before, I come from the Crackberry era. If any of you are old enough to say that you had a Crackberry or you were part of the release of smartphones, I'm of that generation. I didn't get a cell phone till 2001, literally for graduation. That was a gift. Was a cell phone. So my adult life, I have had a cell phone. So I have been around for the evolution of cell phones. Now, even before I graduated high school, my dad had a flip Sprint phone that I could only carry when I was driving the car and going to work. That was it. But when I graduated high school, I got a cell phone. So when crackberries came along, it was like the best thing since sliced bread. I still miss my BlackBerry. I can't talk about it. It makes me really sad. I miss the buttons. I miss all of it. But the phones have become so smart that truthfully, I really miss the evolution of the tablet. I didn't quite get it. And I think it's because I've always used my phone for everything, the way people use tablets. And I'm not like a gaming type of person. The only game I ever played on a tablet was Sims, or even on my phone. And I don't play that very often because, anyways, I'm not a gamer, obviously. But as an entrepreneur, there's things that I've learned that I'm like, it's great that I'm doing this on my phone, but I really need a larger screen, but not a laptop. So I have two different things working for me and against me. There's like my work life and conducting business and writing papers and traveling. But then there's this other part of me that is editing videos, whether it's for class, whether it's for you all, entrepreneurial type of stuff, like to be able to share my screen or share things with a potential client or networking event, taking notes. I'm an avid writer, obviously, and when I see how my colleague was using her iPad, I'm like, gosh, I don't like iPad like that. I'm not an Apple person. No shade to those of you that are Apple people. I'm just not one of them. I'm Samsung, Android, not leaving. I don't care. They're all making each other's parts at this point. But my point is that I am going to be making a personal purchase, which is a smaller laptop. And then my Dino, my 17.5-inch, I will continue to use it. She just won't travel anymore. I mean, she takes up this whole, you guys can't even see my hands, but takes up a lot of space. And I will have a tablet, which will be a business purchase, to aid in some of the entrepreneurial things that I do. So my approach was, when I went to Best Buy, you know what, I appreciate the youth. And I told her that too, because I explained to her, I said, let me just tell you what I do, and then you can kind of give me some recommendations and suggestions, because I'm like, I don't want to be convinced to buy an iPad that's not going to like sing well and marry well with all of my other devices. And so we talked about the difference between the iPad and getting like a Samsung tablet. We talked about HP and the 2-in-1 and how the two can work. Let me tell you what sold me on the tablet. When she told me she can move my apps that are on my phone onto that tablet, let me tell you something. You couldn't tell me anything else, because the day that you are editing from your phone, which I'm over it, I've been uploading videos on YouTube for almost a month. I think I'm over a month now. Listen, and the more you record and the more you add clips and you want to shift things around, you need a bigger screen. And I did upload CapCut to my laptop, but I can't use like one of the pins on the screen. I have to use my hand, which is not bad, but my cell phone is a Samsung, I think 22 Ultra or 24 Ultra like Note. So there's just different things that I'm like, okay, I'm using my phone for this. I need to be able to use like a bigger device that's not my phone and not a laptop. And so, again, once the young lady told me that she could move all my apps over to this tablet, I said, boy, my life is going, I will feel like I had an upgrade by the time I edit the weekly vlog from this past week for this week, because the screen is going to be bigger. I'll be able to do more on Canva. That's the other thing, is I've tried to do Canva on a laptop and even on a desktop, and it's just the problem is I've learned how to do too much on a phone for my grown 41-year-old self, that I don't know how to do a lot of these things on a laptop, which is kind of sad and funny all at once. Because on one hand, it's like, depending on the friends group, it's like, girl, you know how to do too much stuff. And then depending on a younger group, they're like, let me show you how to do some more things. So, anyways, so I'm making some major purchases to update my travel, make my travel life a lot easier, but also make my entrepreneurial life a lot easier. I can just see myself being able to edit papers, type on the tablet. The other thing is, I don't know if I told you guys this, I used to have a Kindle e-reader. I am confident I left that thing on a train because it was small and it's not like a cell phone. I'm pretty sure I left it on a train. I'm confident I left that thing on a train, and I kicked myself thinking about it. I don't even like to talk about it because I'm just like, why? So I will be able to read books from there, from my tablet. And so I really have just thought about this purchase quite a bit, because I don't want to make the same mistake like having my iPad since 2013 and really just not knowing how to use the darn device, honestly. But to be fair to myself, I'm like, you have to give yourself some grace, because when we had our great niece, we did have her, she was able to use the iPad. So it's not like it was in complete disuse the entire time. It's just that I didn't do anything with it. But I think it's because it doesn't go well with my other devices. But now that I'm making the switch to getting a Samsung, I think the tablet will fare well for me, and it'll get me off of my phone. It'll make editing easier. Just if y'all only knew all the things that I do on my phone, it's a shame. It's really a crime shame. I even grade from my phone. Yes, I grade from my phone because I have the app. I have the Canvas app. Pardon. And that's the thing, is the kids taught me to use the apps. And so once I realized, like, oh, I can use the apps on everything, I never had a use for my laptop unless I was like writing a paper or doing like major heavy work. That's when I would use my laptop. So I see the tablet coming in handy big time. So anyways, that's my big thing that I'm doing today, is I'm purchasing a tablet and purchasing a smaller laptop. And I've waited till these Black Friday, till this week, when the sales are much cheaper. So anyways, I need to get into the chiropractor, so hopefully I can get to Best Buy sooner than later. I'll see you guys later. Bye.